So let's say you want to have some type of, shop system where you have a set amount of points. Let me increase mine real quick. Where you have a set amount of points and you use those points to buy whatever item of your choosing. So for example, 4 points for 16 arrows, subtracts those points, 90 points for 2 fireballs, subtracts those. And it also works to where if you have less than the required amounts, it will not subtract those points and obviously won't give you the item. But if you have exactly that amount or more, then it will. This only requires 3 command blocks to make, so it's, really easy. I'm going to go over it pretty quick too. So I'm going to hop over to a different world and show you how to make it. Okay, so the first thing you're going to want to do is just have some type of score system, whether it's a scoreboard, whether it's just like with physical items. I personally prefer scoreboards, and in order to do that, you need to initialize it. So if you type slash scoreboard, whoops, slash scoreboard, and by the way, if you see me autocomplete a command, I'm pressing tab. Tab cycles through all the commands in that black box. But anyways, so slash scoreboard, objectives, add, and this is where like you name your objective. So I'm just going to name it points. And this part isn't displayed. This can be named whatever you want. This will not be shown to the player. Again, it's just nice to have them similar. So scoreboard, objectives, add points, and this is where you declare what type of objective it is, what type of scoreboard it is. I'm going to use dummy because that's just it really just holds the number. It's not for anything, it's just to store a number. And then what your objective is actually going to look like. If you list it above player names, if you have it as a sidebar, things like that, this is what it's actually going to display as. So I'm just going to call it points again. Whoops. You need to have it in quotations. I'm going to call it points. Okay. So now that you've, actually created your scoreboard and initialized it, you want it to be displayed for the players. You want them, to actually be able to see how many points they have. So for that, I'm going to type scoreboard, objectives, set display, and you only need to worry about the top 3 choices. The rest are for more like complex situations. But sidebar would be displayed in the middle right side of your screen, where you'll see a lot of information about servers and whatnot. List will be whenever you hold down tab and you see a player list, it would be displayed right next to players' names. And below name would be displayed, like, if you're looking directly towards a player, it would be displayed underneath their username. So I prefer sidebar, but it also kind of depends depends on what context you're using your point system for. But anyway, so I prefer sidebar. So I'm going to type sidebar, and then you need to choose what actual scoreboard you're setting the display for, which in my case, it's called points. Okay, so now you have everything set up, everything is ready. Now you want to actually create the system. So I just mine out a small area. You want 3 blocks or like room for 3 blocks underneath wherever you're setting this up. You can set this up really in any direction. Let me just grab a miscellaneous object. So if these were your command blocks, you can set it behind. You can set it next to, you can set it underneath. You can probably set it above too, but I'm not good with redstone. I don't know how to do that, and I'm activating it with a button. So I'm just going to do it underneath because that's easiest for me. So I just have at least 3 blocks worth of air underneath my little podium. And now to give myself a command block, I type slash give at S, targeting whoever is executing this command block. Or sorry, executing this command. Then I type command block and enter. So now that you have your command block, you want to make sure you place these in the correct orientation. So I'm going to go underneath it, look at the bottom face, and place 3 command blocks. You can see the command block's orientation from its like triangle. You can see kind of like where the command block is pointing. It's the same concept as pistons. The piston will always face you, the command block will always face you. But you just want to make sure your 3 command blocks are all facing in the same direction, basically just facing into each other. And now that I'm done with that. I'm just going to cover up most of this space just to where I can still access these commands. And we can start with the first command. So for the first one, you're going to type execute. You can use a slash if you want. I personally don't like using slashes in command blocks, but it really doesn't make a difference. So you're going to type execute as @p. And real quick, what this does is this is executing the following command as the closest player to the command block. So this is basically making it so it would be like emulating the player typing this in to a console. So execute as @p if if entity @s, which is kind of arbitrary. You don't really need to worry about this. But it's saying if the closest player, if that player, that's what this is saying, if that player, and then I'm going to type some square brackets, and within those square brackets, I'm going to type scores equals, and then curly braces, and then the name of your scoreboard. It can be whatever you named it originally. Mine is points with a lowercase p, equals, and then whatever number you want to set it to. So if I want to make this item worth 5 points, I'm going to type 5 dot dot. And what the two periods do, what the two dots do, they make it so that when it's checking the value, it checks for whatever value you have set, if it's equal to or greater than that value. So if I have exactly 5 points, it will execute. If I have anything over 5 points, it will execute. If I have anything under 5 points, however, it will not execute. That's really all those two dots are saying. But that's your first command block done. Okay, so now for your second command block, you want to set it to chain, conditional, and always active. Just press each button once. It should it should look like this once you're done. And in it, I'm going to type execute as @p, same beginning as the other command block, run scoreboard players remove @s points. So this is again doing the same like concept as the first command block. It's targeting the closest player to the command block, running this command as them, and now we just have to remove whatever points we want this item to be worth. So again, originally I have this item worth 5 points, so I'm going to type 5. Yeah, there we go. So this one, it checks to make sure I have 5 points or more, so at least 5 points. And if this runs, if this returns as true, meaning I do have 5 or more points, then this one runs. That's why we set this to conditional. So then this one actually removes those 5 points. And for our final command block, we want to actually give them the item. So for this, I'm just going to give the player a diamond sword. So I'm going to just run give @p diamond, sorry, can't spell, sword. And, oh, sorry, I forgot one step. You need to set this to chain, conditional, and always active, just the same as the other command block. So again, just to go over this one more time, this checks to make sure that the closest player has at least 5 points. This will remove those 5 points only if the closest player has at least 5 points. And if all of those activated, meaning that the player had at least 5 points, it was able to remove those 5 points, then it actually gives the player the item, in my case, a diamond sword. So I'm just going to grab a button and activate it. So I have 50 points, I press the button, removed 5 points, and now I have a diamond sword. And if I set my points, this is just to demonstrate, if I set my points to anything below 5, like 4, it will not remove any points, but it also won't give me the item. If I set it to exactly the same amount, it will remove that exact amount and give me the item. And this can be done with whatever item you want, obviously. All you have to do is change the lower command block to, again, choose whatever item you want to give the player. You can change the price, but you just need to make sure that the top command block and the middle command block have the same number. So if I want this worth 10 points, I should change the 5 to 10, and then change the 5 to 10. And to demonstrate it just one more time, I give myself 10 points, activate it, I now have the sword. And you can set this up visually however you like. I usually like having an item frame at the, or on the top kind of pedestal block, if that makes sense, and then a sign in the middle displaying, how many points this is worth and what you'll get for those points. I've seen some people, they'll place like an invisible armor stand with a name tag on it that displays all that information, 16 points for a diamond sword, things like that. But I personally just prefer, signs. It's just easier to set up. It doesn't take as much time. But yeah, if you have any questions about this, if something isn't working right, or if you want to change something and you just don't have any idea how, feel free to let me know in the comments. I had a notification issue for my channel for a while. I just wasn't getting notifications, but I'm fairly confident I fixed that. So yeah, if you have any questions, just let me know. And if you enjoyed it, just like and subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one.